This Tom Zero to Pass coming at you with a tournament report with a deck profile. Yesterday we had locals here. We had 11 players. It was really awesome. And I managed to take first with Chronojet, which I'm going to be showing you here. So for the report, we have 4 rounds. And first round I played against Altmile. We played best of 3. I went 2-1. Very good games, very close, and was able to take that. Second round, I went against a Gears, it was a mirror match, and pretty much ended this way. My final turn was, he was at 2 damage, I was using Force 2, I double critted and took him to 6. He 6 damage healed, was able to guard the rest, and on his turn, his final turn, he swung back at me. I was at 3, I believe he was on Force 1, and he double critted. And I did not get a heal trigger out of that. My first check was a heal, ironically. But after that, just epic anime style swinging of the turns. Really thought I had it, and then it went to him. It was an awesome match. Next round, I played against yet another Gears player. I played against the player who runs the tournaments, and he's awesome for running these tournaments. I really appreciate it. It keeps the community together, keeps it alive, has a real heart for Vanguard and for the players here, and man, we love you for it, and we appreciate it. So I got to sit with him, talk about stuff, and play some games, and I managed to take that. And so I moved on to play against the player who was currently in first, and he was playing not Mordred, he was playing Claret Sword, and the games were very explosive, very fast Vanguard. We played 3 games out, each game lasting about maybe 9 to 10 minutes, just back and forth, and I managed to take that round 2-1 and ended up going 3-1, taking first place for the entire tournament. That last round with the Claret Sword player showed me how powerful the new Sentinels are, the 30k shields. And as you'll see, my trigger lineup is not really conventional. And you know, you guys take it for what it is. If you want to try it, if you got some improvement I might be able to make, you know, I appreciate comments, but it is not your standard. And it worked. It worked pretty well. Yeah, so I'm going to go over the deck, show you what I've got, and I'm going to go over some tweaks that I'm thinking about and things that I may actually be keeping in because it just seemed to work so well. So, either starter, I decided to go with him. I did think about running Tiger just to troll. I'm using Chrono's Hokage as my sleeves. And so I also got him in there as well, just because mad respect to Chrono's teacher, Ibuki. The only reason I have those is because I'm also a Link Joker player. So here it is. Here's the triggers. So 4 heal. Sorry for the glare. I'm going to put them over here. 7 regular crit. One of them being, I got really lucky. I opened a foil. And then for my Sentinels, 2 and 2. And then my last card, I threw in another draw. The draws are pretty important. And so going down to 2 PG draws, I was like, oh my gosh. That didn't feel comfortable for me. So I threw in the roly-poly just to get myself one more draw in there. And so, yeah, it worked pretty well for me. So that's the trigger lineup. I wanted to keep the cards out for you, but there's just too much glare coming from over here, so I'll have to fix that for the next video. Grade 1s, quickie, You want to get your strides back into your deck. And grade 3 Searcher at 4. And one of your Counterblast Hungry cards, Chronotooth. So Chronotooth's very important, and there are a number of ways to use him. Anything that says pitch a card, he's fair game. And so definitely run him at 4. Quickie, you could consider going down, and I'm going to show little tweaks as I go along in the deck profile. Just backing up for my triggers. I personally am not going to change a thing. You know, everybody's mileage is going to vary. So, but I'm going to keep it as it is right now, unless I hit a major roadblock at some point. But Quickie, I like it at 3, but I'm considering dropping down to 2 and running one of her. She's yet another. Let's see here. Yeah, she's another pitch effect, so it's pretty good. It is once per turn. You can't proc this twice when you rewrite Chronojet. That would have been amazing, by the way. Yeah, you couldn't have done it with Lost Legend either. But she's pretty awesome because she's going to give 15k split up as 5 segments to 3 different units. So she's going to give 3 units 5k each, and that's pretty good. So I'm considering it. We'll see. I think this is more important if you go Force 2. This is really going to be helpful in that regard. So, and this deck, by the way, I was going Force 1, Force 2. It depends on the tempo. It depends on where you're at. It depends on your hand. It just depends on really what's happening at that moment in time when you get to the point where you have to decide, do I want to go Force 1 or Force 2? I found both worked fairly well. So for my grade 2s, I have 4 Naboo. I currently only have 3 Steam, but I have, or I should say Smoke Gear. Steam is the grade 1 Searcher. Smoke Gear, I have at 3. I have 1 more coming in the mail. And 1 Urkob. And I have some spicy tech in my hand here, which I'll show in a second. So Naboo, just no-brainer. Attacks, goes into soul, replenish the hand. Smoke is very important because it allows you to throw anything, including Tooth, as grade 4 stride fodder. And then Urkob. I only owned 1 Urkob when I was playing this deck. Halfway during the tournament, a friend of mine sold 1 to me, but of course you can't put it in because you can't change your deck. But honestly, my take is that I would only run 2 or 3 of this, and this is the reason. You have no counterchargers in the deck. Chronojet and Tooth are going to eat up your counterblasts. So the thing about Urkob that's really nice is that he's a natural stride fodder. Counts as it. He counts as basically a grade 3 when you pitched to stride. The other thing that's very important about Urkob is he's a really good G2 Vanguard ride target. And so if you run 2, chances of hitting that are going to be fairly low. If you go up to 3, it's going to be a bit better. 4, you're just going to have to expect the fact that you're probably not going to use its ability on one of those cards that you drop into play. And so I have another card that's been filling in, which is Stroke. Now the thing about this card is that it helps spot remove problems. It also helps cycle a card at the same time. So, excuse me, keeping this card in and a pair, I think it's a pretty good idea. Am I going to go down to 1? Am I going to fully remove it? I'm not sure yet. I'm going to have to play test a bit more with that. But this card that I had put in as filler was actually helping. So kind of got lucky with that. And going and looking at G-Station's videos, apparently there are some Japanese players that are actually moving away from Urkob to Stroke. And I get it. I totally get it. Being able to remove violins off the table against alt mile is pretty good. So yeah, so that's where I'm at right now. As I said, I managed to get another copy here. My G1 count right now is 11. I'm happy with that because we have G4s in the deck. My G2 is currently 10, and I'd like to bring that up to 11. So we'll see. We'll see. Definitely go up to 4. Smoke. You got the smoke, you play the smoke. You need all 4 of them. Would definitely not run less than 4 if you own them. So again, I've got one more coming in. So I'll have 4 for next time. So grade 3s, well, it's a Chronojet deck. So we run 4 Chronojet. Amazing card. Get to attacks. Don't forget this card also works on the rear guard. So you can Sentinel deny your opponent on the rear guard. It's very strong. It's an amazing finishing move. You stack your Vanguard along with one of your rear guard columns, especially if you're doing Force 1, you're stacking. And you set everything up on your Vanguard. Your opponent's staring at your Vanguard. They know that you're going to swing twice there. But there's a friend off to the side in the rear guard field that's saying, well, you're not going to be able to PG me either. And so it's pretty powerful. So whether or not you re-ride Chronojet versus hold on to Chronojet for that final turn push, it's a judgment call. But remember that it does say Vanguard rear guard. And then a little bit of spicy tech I have in here. I have a Fang. One of the reasons Fang is in here is because I only owned one Urkob. This is a 3, so I can pitch this to Stride. It's just another Stride fodder. This can easily replace this, getting my G2 count up to 11. And so that's one of the changes I'd consider right now, along with potentially going down to 2 quickie to put this in. So 2 cards I'm thinking about swapping in. Okay. Now the other thing about Fang is that I am running a copy of Rebellion. And so if you just happen to be on Fang and you've got Rebellion to go into, by all means. Now when I was playtesting this past, couple days before the tournament, I wasn't running him. So we moved on to our G-Force now. I wasn't running this, and in my opinion, it's a huge mistake. If you go first, this really is your first Stride target. I was running 2 Rebellions, and I was thinking, well, Rebellion could kind of replace this. No, Rebellion does not replace this. This is a triple drive. Okay? If you're striding Rebellion as your first stride, which is what I was trying to do, there's only one time it's really good. And that is if you're desperate. Because Rebellion says if you have 5 or less cards, if you have 3 or less cards, if you have 1 or less cards, if you're going into your first grade 3 ride and then you're striding into Rebellion, and you're basically going to want to have less than 3 or less cards, excuse me. You're going to want to have 3 or less cards in hand. You're in a pretty rough spot already. Or I should say myself. And it has happened. Don't get me wrong. I've actually used Rebellion first. And it gets me out of a corner. Because what it effectively does is if my opponent's rushing me down, and my hand is so tiny because of this, from guarding. We'll get to guarding here in a second too. If my hand is so tiny from guarding, then this may be the best first stride. Because it means they've got rear guards in the front that I'm going to retire. And if I've got 3 or less cards in hand, it means that my front row units, because this is forced, there's only 3 of them in the front, those 3 are going to get plus 10. Okay, and that's real big. So if you go force 2, and this is kind of an opportunity where you may want to go force 2, even though your hand's really tiny, you go force 2, you drop this, you effectively get a force 1 marker on your 2 rear guards and your Vanguard for that 1 swing. And it's pretty good. It can help you turn the tide. It can help you at least push the tempo hopefully a little bit back in your favor. So absolutely would run 1. I was running 2. I wasn't running the Phoenix when I was playtesting just a few days back. I was running 2 Fangs and 2 Rebellions. I went down to 1 Fang, down to 1 Rebellion, and put the 2 Phoenixes in, and I was better for it. Definitely run Phoenix. The reason Phoenix is at 2 is because it is that important. If you damage check Rebellion, well, okay. You know, if you're in such dire straits, or if I am in such dire straits and I lost the card, well, at least Phoenix is gonna get 3 cards back into my hand to guard with. So there's that to be said. The thing is, coin flip, right? 50% chance that you're gonna go first. And with such a high probability of possibly going first, if you damage check a Phoenix on that first attack against you, you're going to want to make sure that there's one still hiding in your deck that you can go get. Okay, so that's my whole spiel on Phoenix. It's very important. And then of course, he's basically your big pressure card, mid-late game closer, everything. This card is basically everything that the deck wants, everything that the deck wants to do. Yeah, it's just phenomenal. So, in terms of my G4s, the only thing I'd consider dropping is that. But after explaining to you why that card can be very important, you know, it's a judgment call. But I think it does still play a role. Okay. So, and we'll continue playing a role as a tech choice. So yeah, going up to 2 Urkob and then teching her in at 1. Those are the things I'm thinking about with regards to little spicy tech choices. So strobe, would I go up on strobe? Would I go more than 2? No, I wouldn't. Strobe's a lot of Soul Blast along with other things that want a Soul Blast. Plus, then you have to start thinking about Naboo. Naboo could go down to 3. Honestly. Naboo could go down to 3. And in fact, kicking Urkob up to 3, 3 Naboo, 3 Urkob, 2 Strobe. Let's see. And then 4 Smoke. Yeah, I'm going to have to think about those odds there. But, or those, not those odds, those numbers there. So playing around with the G2 numbers a little bit there, ratios is what I'm saying, not odds, ratios, sorry. Odds and ratios, right? So playing with the ratios there is something that I'm going to have to do. I'm pretty happy with the grade 1s. The only thing is I'd tech in that one that I showed you there. But the grade 2s I'm playing around with. Definitely want 4 Smoke. I think it's just better. It's more consistent. So, yeah. Let me know your thoughts. I hope you guys like the deck. I hope you're playing around with the Try 3 clans. It's a lot of fun. I do have some Asha cards. I'm kind of throwing things together, playing around with it. Am I ever going to tune it to this level? We'll see. I'm not sure. And then Alt Miles off limits for me. One of my buddies plays it, so it's kind of like Kagero, right? I don't play Kagero because one of my other buddies plays that. So anyhow, I hope you guys are all doing well, and take care. Peace.